everyone. I am Yusuf, and today we have Pawan Bhaiya with us, who has helped a lot of students in interview preparation, and he knows in and out about what goes through an interview. So, Pawan Bhaiya, my first question would be like, what does an interviewer goes through during an interview? Like when he's asking you questions, what is going in his mind while asking those questions? What, what, what do you think?
Okay, I think okay. First of all, thank you so much, Yusuf. So now, what does okay? First of all, you should understand that interview is just like a human too. Okay, got it. So when we are asking up the questions, it's more about we think from the perspective of an interrogative mindset. Mindset that basically means about what? So it's more about an interview concept is something. It's not about you. I'm asking out the questions and then you are answering out everything correctly. Got it. That's not an interview about. An interview is more about it's to dig out your particular mind and try to understand what your true personality is. So it could be basically for a job interview. In a job interview, we try to see whether are you trying to be really capable enough for this particular job. It could even be applying for any kind of government exams for the same. It could even apply for any kind of college interview. So we always have this interrogative mindset for the same. So here we want to see what truly do you possess for the same. Got it. So your inner qualities, your inner strength, your inner abilities can be really seen in a very fraction of minutes is what general public's assumption is that in few minutes or few questions we'll be trying to understand. But the general thing is about everything in an interview cannot be understood. But when we are asking certain kind of interrogative questions through your subconscious mind, certain answers when you give, will we understand what personality do you possess and how much leadership styles do you possess. What are your major strength? What are your major weakness? Can you really become a great fit within my organization? Is something which is basically being thought of. So the major thing which will basically be running in an interview's mindset is about questions, just questions again and again is just about the pure questions. And we always look from a loop to figure out and tap out your mind to get out the best resources so that to just see whether the right traits are you within our particular organization, or are you really been matching up within our
So, like,
entire ecosystem.
so can a individual like be very ready for an interview like 100%, or like then is a component in interview that you will be left surprised, or there will be some questions which you need to answer spontaneously, like according to your answers, previous answers or something. So can an individual like prepare before and like everything about an interview?
To be honest, you said like in an interview, you cannot anytime prepare at any point of time everything. Why? Because interview is literally like an ocean. Okay, it's just like an ocean. You do not know where the beginning is, neither the end is. It's that vast. Why? Because why do I say is because I've seen a lot of the time students just by heart and come up with the concepts. Okay, like I think you might have seen this generally in any kind of interview. Like normally people just by heart and then they just come for the interview, but when certain kind of a questions asked out of their particular
Hmm.
box, they really tamper out for the same. Correct. So what I want to tell is about an interview. You cannot prepare everything and go certain things because your entire personality trait is basically seen at that point of time. Whenever you're preparing for an interview, please do not by heart and go. That's one thing I always tell them. Do not write down any of the questions and answers and go for the interview, because I've seen many students just open a very fresh book, they just write out every question one by one, and when they tell the answer, we'll understand for the fact it's very artificial. Got it. So what I'm just trying to mainly tell is about do not in your interview make it like very much artificial, because if you try to have an assumption that I will learn everything for an interview and go, that will never be possible. Got it. So for example, if I am asking about what is your name, you said you'll tell that you are from your name is Yusuf, and I'll ask you you're from which place, and you'll be telling that my place which I'm residing is Bihar, basically in Guwahati, Assam. And then I'll be asking, tell me something very famous, popular in your particular place. And you'll be like telling Pawan 1, 2, 3. Tell me what kind of, like, as you've applied for PBA course, what is your major ambition in growing up the entire business sector within that particular region? Now, what is your parents doing? And how do you think you can contribute towards your family ecosystem? Just imagine that if you are becoming tomorrow's finance minister, what changes can you come do for the same? So all these questions, like beyond a point of time, it's beyond a sketch. Like you cannot just write it down, prepare and go. It's like out of the box context. Got it. So what I personally suggest is about make sure that your mind is always open whenever you're reading something, or when you're trying to explore something within the interview domain. Keep reading as much as possible. Listen to many good podcasts for the same. If you're able to do podcasting or listening from a very long period of time, or if you're really updated about the news at any point of time from a long period of time, or in case you're a very good reader, then you can hackle out any particular interview. Why? Because you will know what weapons to use at right point of time. Got it. So irrespective of how much of you are prepared for the war, if you do not know what weapon to use, you'll be become a very big loser, right? Similar way, just don't come to an assumption that just by learning few tricks you'll be able to win the battle, but just be prepared from
Okay,
all
so
the
that
angles is what
means
I personally
like
feel.
answering the question is also important, and the way we answer the question is also important, equally important, if not more than. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yes.
like lastly, I
So,
want to
so true.
ask you that like why the concept of interview is very sort of difficult for some persons. Like they feel very scared. Like okay, entrances or any written form of test we can crack, but interview is something which is very tough for some students or any individual. Like why is it so?
Yeah, so you said that's a good question. You know why people come to an assumption of fear of an interview? First basic reason is about, so suddenly if a person is doing interview for the very first time, so like they'll get a lot of fear. To be honest, they'll get a lot of fear because something which you have not tasted it, you'll come to an assumption that that might be not good. Got it. So if you are doing an interview for the very first time, the general conception of fear is always there. It's like an ancient principle from a very long period of time. It's just following the same. Right. So irrespective of how much ever you prepare and go, still for the fact that if you have not done your very first interview or if it is not a mock interview, that concept of fear or the tough will always be there. Second thing, why people fear about the interview is about, they just sometimes fear that, their true personality will be coming out. That is also that, all the interviews, to be honest, I'll just tell you one thing, you said that, in an interview, it's likely a subconscious state. I'm just speaking about not like a basic interview. I'm speaking about an advanced level interview state of, when we ask the questions, we try to go to the deep inner state of that particular mind. I think, Yusuf, if you observe many of the podcasts, like if we constantly observe a very podcast very long, for example, Ranveer Alabadia ka podcast, when whoever his guest is coming, if he's sitting in that very 1 hour in that entire podcast, we get to know what that entire person is about. What personal characters does those people have? What kind of traits do they have? Okay, is he really making sense? What is he very selfish? Is he really something about contributing? Is he something like business mindset? All that you'll be able to drive it out. Similar way, when you are sitting next to an interview, their true personality comes out. Some people make sure that their personality is like rigid, form, structure, everything. But when certain kind of questions is basically being summoned or asked, what happens is about their personality traits might come out. So people, I've seen for the fact, when suddenly when question is asked, some people behave very rudely. They just like blast out in the interview. And I remember one such instance when, when our entire panel was there, we have this something called as fire round also in an interview. Fire round or crisis round. So in an interview, interviewer will become very angry just for assuming, like just to show that okay, we are angry. We'll ask certain questions, and then immediately that person's reaction will come out. Okay, that will basically tell during certain kind of crisis situation how they are trying to handle it. Got it. So some people will be handling it in a very delight manner, so that there we give a plus point. So some people just shout it back, they just lashed at us back. Who the hell are you to ask this particular question? Or like, I'm not going to answer this particular question. So certain kind of derogatory statements comes, that personality might be coming out. So first reason is what? First reason is because lack of mock interview practice. Second thing, the fear of the true personality coming out. And the third reason is about lack of preparedness. Okay, I say this always, like normally if you don't prepare for your exam and then you go for the sit and then you sit for the exam, you cannot expect to get good marks, right? And you cannot just come back and complain. So it's always important that you prepare and go a lot and just give your best shot. It applies to everything in your life. Similar way, an interview is just like one particular component. Remember, in everything in your life, if you're not prepared, it's natural reality that you get a lot amount of fear. You just get a lot amount of self-doubt, whether I'll be able to do it, whether will I be not able to do it. So with pura self-doubt, it's a natural process of life. But in case if you're able to comprehend it, how are you able to comprehend it? Very simple process. Make sure that you're able to beat that particular zone of interview with your preparation. Then yes, your first fear and your second fear will basically
Like if
be
it's a
dissolved, is what I
written
personally feel.
entrance or if it's a written form of test, I can prepare, like I can practice questions. How do you prepare for an interview beforehand? Like what are the things which I should keep in mind?
Yeah, exactly. So now it depends on which place you've basically been applying for an interview. Okay, for example, if Yusuf is preparing for a college interview, there is a structure for preparing. If you're preparing for a job interview, there is a structure for preparing. Similarly, if you're preparing for a government exam, there is a structure for preparing. So what I personally feel is about, no, there are basically few layers in which you need to focus on your interview preparation. The first layer is about which are all place you're going up for your preparation. It could be basically about, it could be about college, job, any government exams, civil service, defense exams, so and so. Try to learn about its vision and mission very carefully. not just by hearting the line. Just see in an interview how well you can resonate with the concepts, and then you can explain the content over there when any question is asked about it. So first policy applies always: learn about the organization which you are going to apply for. Okay, so you can expect any kind of questions from that, and it is natural that in an interview they'll be asking that particular question. So first thing is about learn about the organization very well. Now the second question could basically be about, make sure that you're updated about what particular field you've been already studied. For example, if Yusuf is in his 12th grade, now you're applying for a degree interview, you should be very prepared with all the questions which I'm going to ask you within your 12th grade. Got it? So that shows that during your present state of mind, how much consciously you're learning out the things. Got it? So even for example, if Yusuf tomorrow is applying for a job interview, now tomorrow job interview, just assume that Yusuf is in his degree fourth year now, because of new education policy. You're in fourth year now. You should be very confident enough to answer any questions what you've been learned during that degree first, second, and third, fourth year. Because I, as an interviewer, I really want to see whether this banda has enough. Not you, okay? I'm just telling for any student that whether they have that particular kind of knowledge and skill set where they can apply it within my particular organization or field. Now, third particular area which I feel like, which is like ever booming, is about, it's about current affairs. A lot about current affairs and their opinions. It's always important, Yusuf, like one particular criteria on how you can basically stand out in an interview is about knowing just about current affairs and giving your own opinions for the same. Now, recently, Karnataka, they bought a particular rule as about 60% of all board, everything is going to be in Kannada, and remaining 40% is going to be in English for the same. Now, I can ask you, as you're staying in Karnataka, what is your view regarding it? So that you can tell it, sir, this is particular so and so law passed by so and so particular government, and this is what I personally believe about it, and this is what I personally do not agree with it. So if you're able to substantiate your things, and either you're able to agree or disagree for the same, and then if you're able to put up your words, then that interview becomes like great. It's like mind blowing. So that will basically show for me as an interviewer that, okay, this particular person is very good in terms of handling new things. This person is a very good observer. This person can obviously provide opinion in so and so particular thing. Now let me break it down. For example, in a college interview, when you are very well prepared for current affairs, it shows that. And when you're giving your opinions and not just telling about current affairs, when you're giving your opinions, the college people will feel that, okay, he or she is the right fit for my organization. Why? Because tomorrow he or she can bring up so and so fame to my university. He can bring so and so particular initiatives. He's a very good observer. He can bring a lot to the table. It applies to even to a job organization. They will surely feel that, okay, this particular person can actually boost up our entire profit sales, or this particular person would be the right asset. It even applies to the government services. So this is the basic formula. But one last mantra is about, whenever you're preparing for an interview, think like an interviewer. What I always tell you, need to just think like an interviewer, and then if you're able to prepare for an interview, you become really successful. So Yusuf, in this childhood days, if you remember, our teachers always used to tell, like our parents used to always tell, whenever you're reading a textbook, read like how your teacher is basically teaching you. Why? Because for the mere factor that you will know from which angle the questions can basically arose, like from which area you need to really tap in and go depth about it. So that is the reason you just need to think from the perspective of an interviewer. That comes very successful within the interview domain, is what I
Okay,
personally.
thank you, Panvi, for giving us such wonderful insights about how an interview goes about. I hope that everyone listening or watching this podcast will have a great idea and will be very helpful for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of you for watching. And yes, if you like this video, please do like, share, subscribe. And okay, that's all. So today's videos was about how an interviewer basically thinks about it. And yeah, it was like a very important conversation which we both had it. I hope you all liked it. And if you have learned something from this, even do let us know your views in the comment box. Okay, take care. Goodbye. Wish you all the best.